Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the It Girl Mindset. Today, I am joined by Alica Preetz. She's a mindset and manifestation coach. We actually met in Tulum on that retreat that I went on in December, and I just loved her energy so much. I knew I had to have her on the podcast for you guys. A huge part of Alica's manifestation practice is all about connecting back to your authenticity. And that ended up being a really big part of our conversation. We really touched on two major things that are very, very important for high achievers to know. First, we touched on how to actually find your authentic self and learn to manifest from that place. This has been a really big wound and challenge for both me and Alica in our lifetimes. So we really do talk honestly about what it actually looks like when you've spent years performing, achieving, and chasing goals for validation instead of from your true authentic self. We also touched on so much about joy because joy is such a potent frequency that has to be prioritized, not only because it helps you actually enjoy your life, but it also allows you to detach from the outcome, which is step 5 in Alica's manifestation method. And honestly, if you're in your Alex Hormozi era where you're just trying to work, grind, hustle, repeat, you really need to hear this. She also shares so many practical, simple hacks around manifestation that just make it make sense. One of them being how to release limiting beliefs without forcing positivity or bypassing reality. It's so powerful. This episode is such a good mix of spiritual and practical all in one, and I know you're going to walk away from this episode feeling so much more aligned and lighter and just clear on how to manifest in a way that actually feels like you. So I'm so excited for you guys to hear this conversation. Let's get into it. Welcome to the It Girl Mindset, where I help you step into the next level version of yourself by mastering your mindset, manifesting your deepest desires, and connecting deeply with your body. It's about becoming the most authentic, radiant, unapologetic, and unbothered version of yourself. Together, we're going to chat about how to unlock your true potential and create a life that feels as good as it looks. If you're ready to become the healthiest, hottest, and most abundant version of yourself, you're in the perfect place. Let's get into it. Okay, Alica, thank you so much for joining me on the It Girl Mindset. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you today.
Yes. Okay. So you are the manifestation queen. So I really wanted to start the conversation off with your personal approach to manifestation. I feel like everyone has their own unique way, and I'm curious if you take more of a scientific approach or more of a spiritual approach or maybe a combination of the two. I'd just love to hear how you really help your clients with manifestation specifically.
Yeah, I love that question because there are 1,000 different ways that you could approach manifestation, and it's such a big topic, and everyone and their brother is talking about it nowadays. Yeah, I always talk about manifestation through the lens of authenticity, actually, and main character energy. So it's like I call it like conscious manifestation through being your most authentic self. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, people always get that wrong. I feel like when you say, oh, just be authentic, people think it means just be yourself kind of thing. And it sounds so like easy and no one really knows what it actually means. And what it does actually mean to be authentic is to align your thoughts with your feelings and your actions or the decisions that you take. That's being authentic. And that's the exact same thing that we need to do to manifest something is to, have a thought that's in alignment with the feeling that comes from that thought and then take an aligned decision or action step from that. And that's how we bring something into reality. And so I help my clients become their authentic self by getting to know them first and getting to know also their wounds, their limiting beliefs, their personal goals and dreams and desires, and then learning to actually have their thoughts be in alignment with their words and their actions, and then manifest the desired outcome that they want to.
Authenticity is so much harder than it seems, at least in my personal opinion. You know, when you see those people and you just kind of look at them and you're like, wow, they really know who they are.
Yeah.
I feel like a massive wound for me was figuring out who I am authentically. It's been something that's been a reoccurring theme in my life. I really thought that I had to make myself into something that other people wanted me to be. And it's a lot harder to manifest when you don't know who you are because you're just kind of guessing and saying, oh, I want the fancy car. So maybe I'll just act like this person who has the fancy car, even though you probably don't necessarily want their exact lifestyle, you know? So authenticity, I find so interesting because it has been one of the biggest challenges of my life. So
Same.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Maybe I
yeah,
can just very quickly say something on that.
yeah,
'Cause I feel like the things that we teach about as coaches are most often the things that we
yes,
actually were struggling with the most time of our lives. And
totally.
I grew up with, or my dad is a former national soccer player, and
Wow.
money was never really an issue for me growing up. And my dad is, here in Germany at least, kind of known, like you could say famous. And so from a very early age on, I had this very strong urge to want to kind of make it on my own and not be in his shadow, because everywhere I went, and even in school, it was always like, oh, this is the daughter of him, and that's why boys liked me, and that's why I also got bullied in school by the girls. And so there was a lot of wounding that came from that, even though I love my dad so much, but it always felt like I was standing a little bit like in his shadow. And that's why I felt so passionate of trying to find out who I actually am without having this label of my last name or being his daughter or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm curious, how did you go down that journey to find your authentic self?
Yeah, that was that was an interesting journey. 'Cause, I think there are two ways that you can that you can go when you grow up with a famous parent. I think either you turn into like a spoiled kid who
Yeah.
thinks, everything in life will just be handed to them, or you develop this huge drive to define yourself, to prove to mostly yourself, but also to everyone else that you can make it without being like someone's daughter. At least that's what it was for me. For me, it was definitely the second one. I would not say I grew up being so spoiled. It was more like I, for a very long time, was tying my worth so much to how much I achieved and how much recognition I got from the outside. And so, as so often as it happens when you base your value on external validation, you kind of lose the connection with yourself even more. That's what happened for me. So I had
Yeah.
no idea after school, for example, what I wanted to do with my life. And I also always tied my worth and my sense of self-worth a lot to my past relationships. Like, how much recognition do I get from the men in my life? And
Yes.
I studied something that didn't really interest me back then, because it was always about doing something that other people would think like would approve of or would make them proud of me and whatever. And so I think I had this one, like the one low point, one of the lower point days in my life, when Alex, who's still my boyfriend, thank God that this has all changed over time, but when he was out partying and I was home alone, and I was kind of telling myself, yeah, that doesn't bother me that he's doing stuff without me, even though I obviously it did bother me at the time. I came across a video of Matthew Hussey. I don't know if you've ever heard from him.
Oh,
He's like at least at the time, he was like a dating coach. And he was making videos with these very clickbait titles of like how to get the guy to fall for you, whatever.
yeah.
And I watched his videos, and thank God that what he was saying in those videos was actually like good. It
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
like the title, maybe it's not the
Yeah.
best, but
It's
he
like,
delivered.
do this spell to make him obsessed with you.
No, it was not about that. It was more about getting to know yourself. And I
Love
realized I
that.
had to stop abandoning myself and always bending over backwards just to be loved. And that I had to think that was one of the most important realizations for me, that I had to start giving myself the recognition and the love that I was always looking for from my partner or from my parents. And I think that's when my personal development journey kind of kicked off. And then, once you're in this bubble,
Yeah.
there's no escape. So
Yeah.
a lot more tools came after that, but
Yeah.
that was how I started. And then just spending a lot of time with myself, like honestly, journaling a lot, learning to meditate, learning about limiting beliefs. And then also through doing my coaching certification years later, I learned so much about myself. So it was this through so many things, but that's how it started for me.
I love that. I resonate so deeply with your story, especially like with guys. I would bend over backwards. I would do
Yeah.
anything to, I just wanted everyone to be proud of me, especially, you know, with my family too. It was like, it was kind of this motto of like, you need to be the best, like, period. And I don't even, I think back about this a lot. And it's not like anyone in my family, my dad is definitely very competitive, and so is my brother, but no one said that to me. But this was always a feeling and a thought that I had. It was like, you have to try so hard and you have to be the best. And if you're not the best, what are you doing? Like, you're a nobody kind
Yeah.
of a thing. And so that really ingrained that achieving energy into me, where I also attach my worth to my achievements. And
Yeah.
it's really interesting too, as a high achiever, when you reach a goal that maybe you didn't necessarily know or fully believe that you could do. And I don't know if you felt this way with modeling, but when I became a 49er cheerleader, I was like, wow, this is the best feeling in the whole entire world.
Yeah.
And then it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy again of just like chasing that feeling of constantly achieving and hitting that new high. So I'm curious if you ever felt that way with modeling, or did it feel, or did you not really have that like maybe high that you had to constantly chase with the achievement of it?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because with modeling, I it was nice for me because I could almost switch into a new character.
Yes.
And then I was being, model Alisa on set. And I was very good at that. And I still do it and I love it. But it was also not really my authentic self, because yeah, as I said, like you are a character, or you just wear the clothes they give you and then you have to make them look good. So it's funny because I wasn't as competitive with modeling as I am now with my coaching business. And it's interesting even now talking about it, because I do wonder, like, does that have maybe something to do with, I feel like my coaching business is me, and this belief gets triggered more to want to prove my worth to this kind of work, because it is tied so much to my identity and to my authentic self. Whereas with modeling, like, even if I do fuck up this job or I don't get a book
Yeah.
next month, it's okay, because like this is not me. This is a role that I play.
Mm, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, that's really interesting to think about. And with dance too, I almost, I always say I kind of felt like Batman or something, because it was like when I put on this uniform of, the professional cheerleader, everyone would, notice and like want autographs and sign. But then it's like I took that off and I was like a normal person. And
yeah,
I realized that it also was not in alignment with my authentic self, because I loved the, fun parts of it. I loved the performing and like putting on the outfit and getting my makeup done, and all of that was so fun. But the work that it took to get there, with all of the practicing and the late nights and the travel, I did not like that part at all. And I realized I was like, this is not in alignment with who I truly am, or else I'd be a lot happier, right? So I'm curious, how do you feel like you can tell when you're in alignment versus out of alignment?
Hmm. Yeah. So for me, it is always tied to, do I do this because I'm trying to achieve a certain outcome that I do think, for example, other people would be proud of? Or do I achieve this because I genuinely want to? And it sounds so easy, right? But like, because I find so much joy in it. So, for example, with my business, not all of the time, but most parts of my business, I do
Yeah.
think that I would still do that even if I wouldn't make money with that, or even if my clients wouldn't send me messages saying, oh my God, that was the greatest session ever. And even if I had no followers and no one would see my post, I would still write, for example, because I love writing. I used to always write as a kid. and write my own little magazines and books. And this is this is something that I do where I feel so connected to my authentic self, because I don't think too much about what do I need to do, how do I do this so that it gets like approval or validation. And I think being your authentic self is comes easiest to you when you allow yourself to do things that you just love and you find so much joy in that, because that frequency, also the frequency of joy, is on the same frequency as authenticity. And so that's always what I also encourage my clients to like think about, like, what did you love as a child? What comes most natural to you? Because we often, just very sad, but we often lose that the older we get.
Yeah, that's such a good hack too, to ask yourself, what did you actually enjoy as a kid? Because when you look back, you'll start to remember all these things, because I feel like we get so lost in our day to day. And, even if, even as a like someone who loves achieving things, we can kind of forget what fun actually is. Because for me, I'm so passionate about what I do that is fun for me. But I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I need some joy outside of work. And it's funny, I'd love to hear yours as well. But something I loved to do as a kid was draw clothes. Like I kind of always thought I was going to be a fashion designer, but in my brain, I was like, I'm not good at drawing. Like I've never been super, I don't know, attention to detail, I guess. Like I'm a perfectionist in different ways, but attention to detail is not my strong suit. And drawing never was. So I would have all these cool outfit ideas in my brain, but then I would put them on paper and I was like, that does not look like what's in my head.
But and so you stopped doing it because
I did for a long time. And then recently, now on my iPad, they have this app where it like kind of makes prints for you. Like you can choose different prints and it just makes it way easier to actually design clothes. So I've started to do that and it's just been so fun for me, a good way to relax. So I'm curious if you have like what your fun activities were as a kid and if you implement them now.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much because it's funny. I always loved horses when I was a little kid. I was one of those horse girls, and I started horse riding when I was 4 years old. And now I have my own horse, and I am obviously still horse riding and having so much fun with her. But it's not something that I can, say that I'm so good at. Like there are all these people who do incredible things with their horses and all these different styles of horse riding that you can do. And it's really, for me, it's just something that I do because I love doing it. I love to be with her. And I really don't care if we make no progress whatsoever for the next 20 years that I have her. But I remember quitting horse riding for a while when I was a teenager, because that was actually frustrating me, because I was like, no, I'm not good at this. Like, what should I do this for? I can't make money off of this later. I'm not good at it, so I don't get any validation. And that was the ambitious side in me that was like, if you don't get anything from that and it's just for fun, then it's not worth it and you should stop doing it. But actually what I found was that buying my horse and having her and spending so much time with her is such a fuel for the parts of, for example, my business where I do make where I make money from, or I get things from, because it like so much, I get so many good ideas when I'm with her. It fuels my creativity. And so it still is, it still has something to give into.
It's a good business investment because
exactly.
have
That's
your
what I'm
creative
trying to say.
side come out. I feel the same way with certain things. So I was sitting at my desk, just like, I need to figure out a podcast episode a couple weeks ago. I was like, I just got to sit here and I just have to figure it out. And I was like, after a while, I was like, okay, I can't do this. And I had a facial booked. I went to get a facial, and within 30 seconds of laying down, it popped into my head. I was like, oh my gosh. It's
because you finally detached from it and your soul was literally like, okay, here's your idea.
Yeah, it's like, just go chill out for a second, relax, like stop trying so hard. It's so interesting how that works. And, speaking of detachment, that's something that has been also a big challenge for me, because I think sometimes a lot of people in the like success worlds and, sometimes mindset world are like, you just have to work harder. You have to have more output, kind of like Alex Hormozy. You know, Alex Hormozy? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. He's so intense where it's like, you just have to work harder and do more and put more out into the world. And so I had that mindset for a long time because my first business mentorship I ever invested in had that mindset. Alex Hormozy was their mentor. And so I'm
Wow.
just curious, how do you detach if someone is like, I want to reach these goals so bad? What are some tips to help someone detach from the outcome?
Yeah, well, first of all, I do want to say that I obviously know Alex
Yeah.
Hormozy, and I think advice from Alex Hormozy for people like us who already have this wound,
Yeah.
it can sometimes make things even worse. And what we actually need more, or
Yeah.
at least what I find to be true for myself, is someone to tell myself like, hey, you're already doing enough, like everything's good, you're allowed to relax and you can have fun. And that does so much more for my business. It's so insane. Like for my results, when I'm on vacation and I work so many less hours than I would work when
Yeah.
I'm here, I very often make more money than I do when I'm here, just because my frequency is like, I'm vibrating on a higher frequency. I think that's literally it. So just
Yeah.
wanted to say that about Alex
Yeah.
Hormozy.
No, totally.
Yeah.
It's so true. And yeah, just that feeling of you are doing enough. It's safe to let yourself just receive. And that's kind of like on vacation, that receiving energy where you're just having fun and then things start to flow. Definitely have to remind myself of that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so true. Yeah, and then to your question, like how do we detach? I think, well, there are 5 steps to manifestation, and or at least in what I teach, and
Yeah.
trust and let go and detaching is the fifth and the final step, and it's the one that I find is most difficult for people. And it's funny because detaching means, or in this case with manifesting, it means that we need to be we need to have a goal that we want so much and we're so passionate about it and we're doing all the things, but at the same time we need to be okay with the fact that it might never come and that we will still
That's
be
so
good.
hard.
Yeah, it's the hardest ever, and it's such a paradox too. And so it's about, yeah, releasing expectations. What always helps me is when I'm manifesting something, I always say this or something better. That's just one very, very simple
Love.
hack when you do manifest something and you write down a goal and you're like, let's say you want to have a successful business and you want to generate multiple 6 figures. I always write down, yeah, it's this or something better, because I think, we limit ourselves, even if we set the biggest goals and we think this will never be possible for me. We still limit ourselves if we say to the universe, this is what I want, because maybe the universe has something so much better in store for you. Or even, I mean, we all had situations where we manifested something and we thought we would want this so much. And then we had it and we were like, this is actually not that good. And, I don't really like this at all. And
Yeah.
so I think it's a little bit of a playful energy as well. Just reminding yourself how little information you actually have and how little you actually know, and that there could be so many other incredible things for you. And so I always tell people, it's not, when you're manifesting something, it's not about the goal that you want, like the 100K or the multiple 6 figures. It's about who you are becoming on the way to get there. And that's the thing that you're manifesting. So, and that's the fun part. And that's the part that is so worth it. And then when you focus on that, who you are becoming or who you think you will be when you are a multiple 6 figure coach, and you focus on embodying the version of, like, embodying this now, then you might end up somewhere totally different, but it will feel very good arriving there. And so, yeah, that's what I would say on the detachment thing.
Yeah. It also seems like, too, with, trust and detachment, deepening my spirituality has helped. And this is
Yeah.
something that I actively try to work on, but it's also something that's really hard. And probably coming from this, achiever, work
Mhm.
harder, having to have that control, it's a lot harder sometimes to detach because I trust me, but I don't necessarily trust things outside of me.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious if you feel like, yeah, deepening your spirituality practice within, your manifestation practice with trust and detachment would be helpful.
Yeah, so helpful. I always do one method, if you will, when I feel very like when I have a hard time detaching or letting go of a goal, and I feel like I'm so attached to it. I always ask the universe for a sign
Ooh,
to show me, you have to ask, or at least that's how I do it. I always ask the
yeah.
universe a specific question that could be answered with yes or no. And then I tell the universe the sign that I would like to receive. So let's say when I was studying and I wasn't sure if it was the right thing for me to quit and instead start my coaching career, I asked the universe for a sign. And I was like, so if it's the right decision for me to quit my studies and start this coaching certification, and please send me the sign of I think it was a peach, came to me. And literally, it was so funny because the next day, my boyfriend and I were invited to a dinner, and they were, as a dessert, serving something with peaches. Like, I don't know what it was, but something with peaches. And I sat there and was like, oh my God,
That's
this is
insane.
crazy. But at the time, I did not trust it. I always say, like, if you ask for a sign and you receive it, please, you have to trust it and then act
Yeah.
on it. But I wasn't ready, and so I didn't trust. And then I think 2 weeks later, I asked for another sign, and and again, it was like, I think it was just asking for synchronicities with a specific number. I think it was like a 666 or something. And I
Mhm.
saw this number everywhere, like on all the license plates. And I think even I went shopping and then I got the bill and it was the exact amount, like it was €6, 66 or something like that. And I find this super helpful when you have problems detaching, because
Love that.
it's again a playful energy and it's not all on your own shoulders, but you can literally ask the universe, okay, please give me a sign if this is still right for me, and you will receive it. I really believe in that, and it's so much fun to do it this way.
Yeah. The universe was screaming at you.
Yeah. For sure. And another thing that just popped up in my head is literally happened just yesterday, because I'm looking at a program that I want to invest in right now.
Ooh.
And I I was in my car yesterday thinking about that, and I was like, okay, if it's right for me to do this coaching, then please send me the resources for it. Like, send me the exact amount of money that I need to invest into this coaching. And it's €4,444.
Mhm.
And today, I have had a week where no sales came in. So all week, no sales coming in, which that's fine, but today already 4 sales came in out of nowhere. And it's already half of the number that I asked the universe for. And so I'm like, I think it won't be long until this exact number is in my bank account. And then I do always then take it very seriously. And if that happens, I will invest in that
Yeah.
program. I'm like you said, the
Wow.
universe is screaming at me. Yeah.
That is so powerful. I love that. I need to do that more with
Mhm.
asking for signs. I think sometimes there's a part of my overthinking brain that's afraid to ask for a sign because I'm afraid that if I don't see it, then what is that going to mean?
Yeah.
So I overthink that a lot, but I think that's such a good hack. And I also wanted to ask you too, do you have a specific manifestation practice that you do? Whether is it just every time you have a specific goal you want to reach, do you do it once a month or is it just kind of more intuitively?
Yeah, I think at this point it's more intuitively. I do have different tools that I use. Like one of the classics would be, making a vision board. Although I haven't done a vision board in 2 years now, I don't really do that anymore because I don't know. It's like you do it and you are so passionate about it, and then you kind of just outgrew it. So you want to try something else. That's where I'm at now. But I do still love a good vision board. So that's one thing. And it's so nice because I still have all my old vision boards, and almost all of the pictures on it are my life now. It's 3 years ago, I was manifesting this apartment that I'm in right now. And I literally have pictures on my vision board that look exactly like this place.
That's insane.
And the same thing with my horse. I put a picture of a girl riding on a brown horse, I think 5 or 6 years ago. And I even forgot about it. And then when I had Philly, my horse, I found that picture again, and it looks just like her. And this was also so crazy. Yeah, so definitely a vision board. And then something that I do now that I really love is I write like wish lists to the universe. So I will sit down.
Ooh.
I will just take my journal and I will go, thank you, universe, for, and then I just kind of do notes. Like, let's say you want to manifest the apartment, for example, because that's what I also did at the time. I write, thank you for this beautiful apartment with this much space and a beautiful floor of like a wooden floor, whatever, and ceiling to floor windows and this insane view over the lake, which I thought at the time that this was too crazy. Like I thought I would never be able to find an apartment in Berlin that would have a view over a lake. But that's what we have now. And like I said, the pictures are just like what I have on my vision board, and also the things that I did this with Alex together, the things that we wrote down on this wish list. We could like tick them all off. It was insane. And so I love this practice as well. Because it helps if you're a bit more rational. And even with me at the time, I was like, no, it won't, like this, it will not be this good. Just allow yourself to be playful and to actually write a wish list, just like if you were a kid writing to Santa,
Yeah.
And then I always put in the end this or something better. And I say thank you. And then I just kind of release it. Yeah.
I love that. Oh my gosh. And then what about like day to day? If you have a limiting belief that comes up, do you just kind of, again, take it a bit more intuitively? Or maybe how do you coach your clients on if they have a block? What do you do? Is it, again, more of a standardized practice, or is it more of intuitively a certain meditation? I'd just love to hear a little bit more of the details on, your specific practices for either you or your clients.
I love that. So how I work with limiting beliefs, or what's my kind of favorite approach, is if we have the limiting belief and for example, the belief is that I need to prove my worth to like whatever, get validation or something, or I need to work hard, otherwise it won't be worth it. Then we look into, I ask my clients, like, let's say this specific belief was almost like a little cartoon figure living inside of you, probably for a long time. And, it lives inside of you, and it kind of has a job that it needs to do for you. And that's why you have that belief. So it wants to either protect you from something, or it wants to help you achieve something. So, and we kind of go into, okay, what do you think this belief is here for? And this is already like always so powerful when they start to realize after I always ask them, and then they say something. So let's say, to keep me safe. And then I don't just stay there. I always say to them, okay, and what would that be good for? And then we always go deeper. Like I always try to go deeper into, okay, what would that be good for? And what would that be good for? And then they always reach a specific point where it actually hits them like, oh, okay, this is what I have this belief for. And almost 90% of the time, we see that it's completely dysfunctional. Like you have this belief to achieve for you that you feel happy and free, for example. And the reality is, with this belief, you are putting yourself into a prison every day. You're not happy because you're like talking down on yourself so much. You're the hardest person with yourself. And then they get into this feeling that they and their whole system, their body, their unconscious mind, and whatever, they all feel ready to let go of this belief because it now kind of almost makes sense, and it doesn't make sense to hold on to it anymore. And then we go into, you know, finding a new sentence that feels better for them.
Yeah.
And it's very important that we then always find something that when you say it, you can actually believe yourself while saying it. So that's the difference between just working with affirmations, in my opinion, because a lot of people, let's say they think I'm not worthy, and then they just start to tell themselves every day I'm worthy, but it's too quick. Like it's a 180.
They're like, I don't believe that.
Yeah, and they don't believe that. But if you do this work first and you go into, what do I have this belief for? That why does this thing in me think it's good to tell me that I'm not worthy? And then try to find a new like belief that is actually fulfilling the job that it's here for you. I hope that made sense. I was trying to.
Yeah. No, I love how logical that is, because I think there's a lot of manifestation and like releasing limiting beliefs that are a little bit more like woo-woo, I guess you could say. And and from my perspective, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you are almost explaining to your conscious mind why this belief is not helping you in any way, in a very like logical way. So I love that. I think that is so powerful.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's very important, or at least for me, I always want to blend like soulful spiritual tools with still clear, practical, grounded action, so that, you know, it's actually, it will actually work for you and make sense to your mind as well.
Yeah, my brain needs that. I'm very skeptical. I love manifestation. I obviously believe in it. I have my practices. I'm even woo-woo and spiritual, but I still catch myself sometimes being like, but how? You know?
Yeah,
like,
totally,
but how?
I get that. Yeah. And I think that's so valid. I feel very similar. Like I'm not a coach who goes so deep into the science of manifestation and in general, like explaining, like, you know, like Joe Dispenza would maybe.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do think it should still make sense. And you also, as the client, should understand what it is that we're doing so that you could even do it for yourself in the future. Because I don't believe in making a client depending on you. Like you can only heal your limiting beliefs if you work with me or another coach. No, you can do it yourself because you now know how you can do it.
Yeah, I love that approach. I'm curious, are there any other either practical tips about manifestation that you could give to my audience? Just maybe simple tips or hacks, or even a sort of routine that, again, is very practical and tangible.
Yeah, so one thing that I do all the time that is very spiritual actually, but we don't do it enough, is dancing, just to raise our frequency.
Ooh.
You love dancing, so I was like, yeah, let's all dance more. So I have playlists for every emotion that I want to feel. So if I wanted to manifest a beautiful relationship and I wanted to call in my partner, I would maybe put together a nice playlist that puts me in the emotion of being with that partner already, or even self-love, so that I'm on this frequency to attract my partner, which would be a match for that frequency. Or if I want to manifest money, I have an incredible money manifestation playlist that I just put together. I can send this to you. We can also
send it my way, please.
Yeah, or I would just also encourage everyone to just do their own little playlist. But that's one of my favorite tools because it's so easy. Like I do this in the car when I'm on my way to, you know, my horse or wherever. I do this while I'm doing my makeup. I do this while I cook. And
love it.
That's what I said also earlier about the you know, being joyful and manifesting from the frequency of like being in joy and having fun. That's what dancing and music in general always does for me. So I think I would love for your audience to start a new playlist that matches the vibe of what it is that they want to manifest.
Oh, that's so good. It's funny too because it's like dance is so accessible, but sometimes we can really get in our own way by overthinking it. Even I do this sometimes where it's like, okay, do I have to choreograph a dance? It's like, no, you just have to like move your body.
Yeah.
But I also love, creating a playlist with the frequency that you need to be in to attract what you want.
Yeah.
I was recently I've been listening to I never thought I would like jazz music. I honestly think
Mhm.
classical jazz music, I just used to get the ick from it because I used to take ballet and I hated it so much. And so it was always like triggering to me.
Yeah.
But now I don't know, something about like cooking dinner with like some low lights and having jazz on it. It kind of just makes me feel like wealthy, you know? It just kind of
Yeah.
has that like elevated energy to it. And
It's giving old money as
yeah,
well.
yes, yes, exactly. So it's funny. I've been doing that and I didn't even know why, but it makes so much sense now because it's like I've been really enjoying that energy of it. So I love that.
It's also
See.
nice because it does help you don't like you don't put pressure on yourself because sometimes people are like, okay, I should manifest more, like I need to take this more serious. If I want this partner, then I should do all these manifestation practices, and that's the opposite of detaching and
Yeah.
trusting and letting go. And if you're just having this playlist and you're dancing and you're enjoying your life, you're kind of manifesting it while you're also just living your life and even sometimes forgetting about the goal and why you even had this playlist in the first place. So that's why I love it so much, because it's easy, it's quick, and it's fun.
Yeah. I love that so much. I'm curious too, within your practice, have you seen like a common limiting belief that most women have, or is everyone super unique, or is there one that kind of comes up a lot?
Definitely, it depends on the topic maybe, but like, money, we all a lot of women, at least that I have worked with, have the belief that manifesting money or wanting to manifest money is not spiritual, is one big belief. Like I shouldn't do
Interesting.
this because it's not something spiritual, or I shouldn't want this because it's bad, like it has a negative energy to it, or that money ruins your character and all these things, or we shouldn't talk about money. Like they always have a problem even talking about their desire to live a more abundant life.
Interesting.
um yeah, and then with manifesting relationship, it's very similar oftentimes to what I've also experienced, is that they tie their worth so much to their partner, and they think that I'm only um like whole if I have a partner, for example. And yeah, and then for them, it's obviously about learning to be happy and
Yeah.
live a great life without a partner, and then it will come the second that they mastered this.
I love
Yeah,
that.
and another really common one that we also both have is the one where we think like we have to work hard to, yeah, make money or be
Yeah.
successful, when I always find that it's actually the opposite. I always tell myself like the more fun I have, the more successful I become.
Yeah.
And the more
I love
authentic I
that.
am, the easier my life gets. And it's also a self-fulfilling prophecy if you truly believe that, because then you allow yourself to have fun. And like I said, I'd be on a vacation and suddenly I make a sale out of nowhere and I make
Yeah.
sometimes even more money. And so
Yeah.
it's more fun to live that way.
Yeah. It's so funny. I took a money mindset course maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And this is at a time when I was really just chaining myself to my desk, feeling like I needed to work 24/7, even though I was like so stuck and not going anywhere. And one of the first things in the course was like, to make more money, you need to have fun more. And I was like,
I
are
love that.
you? What did I just pay for? Like, I was like rolling my eyes, like, how this doesn't even make sense. And it's so interesting too, because even to confirm that belief of, you know, you don't, it's actually about following joy and you don't have to work super hard to make millions and millions of dollars. I used to record 2 podcast episodes every single week. All of a sudden, I was like, okay, I'm just going to switch to one. All of a sudden, that along with a couple other synchronicities, my podcast started exploding. And I was like, okay, I can store that in my piggy bank of evidence that, okay,
Yes.
I can do less and more success comes. And so that was really a good, a really helpful experience to have because I was like, okay, this is good evidence. But I think sometimes, again, I have such a logical brain. I
Mm.
need to remind myself and maybe even write down a list of all of the times that I have seen this reoccur. So I
Yeah.
have that piggy bank of evidence, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very important that you stack your evidence for the new belief that you want to like imprint in your subconscious. And it's also interesting because this will not be the best tip for every person in the world, right? If there are definitely people who should get their ass up and do a bit more
Yeah.
actually for
Yeah.
things they want to manifest. But
Yes.
I would guess that
Preach.
those people are maybe not the ones that are listening to your podcast because they are
Yeah.
probably very similar to you and to me. And so for them, it would maybe be better, not to watch all the Alex Hormozy videos, but actually allow themselves to have a bit more fun. So that's why
Yeah.
I said that fun is not always the solution for everything, but if you are a very high ambitious woman who does struggle or has struggled in the past to allow herself to have fun and relax, then that's always the thing you should actually work on most because it's
Yeah.
always in the things that we avoid the most, right? That's what we need.
Yeah. No, it's so funny. I remember so specifically, I was in Tahoe, just in the mountains with our group of friends, and I was like, I really just want to be working right now. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in Tahoe with my friends. What is wrong with me? Why can I not just learn to have fun? And so that was another turning point where I was like, okay, we need to pause and kind of adjust here. Like, I should be enjoying myself here. So I love that. And I've loved this conversation so much. I would just love for you to tell my audience where they can find you if you have any programs available, just anything that you want to share with them.
Yeah, thank you so much for this conversation. I loved
Yeah.
it so much as well. It was so good to connect with you. Yeah, they can find me on Instagram at Alica Preetz. I have to say though, all my content is in German, so I don't know if your audience,
We
maybe
might,
there are some
yeah.
women in here who do speak German, so I would be so happy if they wanted to follow along on my Instagram. I also have a podcast that's called Inspire Your Soul with Alica Preetz. I have some English episodes on there, but also here most of them are in German. And then I have a challenge that's called Authentic AF, which is an 18-day challenge. It's just a very small investment of 88 euros just to kickstart your journey and allowing yourself to become more authentic. And yeah, but I do think Instagram would be the best place.
Yes, I love it. And all the links are down below. Alica, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ash. It was amazing.